Welcome. We're back. How's everybody doing? Hopefully you're hanging in there pretty well. Pretty flat day for crypto, but not a great day for stocks. The Russell was down, the Nasdaq was down, the S&P was down. We did get a decent bounce towards the end of the day, especially on the S&P and the Russell. The Nasdaq really did lag today, but most of my watch list was red today. A lot of the stocks that I've been trading, a lot of the stocks, that I talk about on the stream did not have a great day. They've had a great few weeks of running, and today was a pretty rough day for a lot of names, especially growth. If we take a look at the ARK ETF, that was down almost 3% today. So I'm going to talk about the market in like 2 minutes. I just want to cover crypto really quickly while people are getting into the stream. So I'm going to talk about crypto for like 2 minutes, then I'm going to talk about the market for like 10 minutes. After that, we'll talk about CLOV and WISH, which are in the title. Then I'll go over the ongoing trades, and then after all of that, in probably half an hour, we're going to do ticker requests. And yeah, Bitcoin still just towards the top of this, I'd call it a range at this point. It's not over 42k yet. I mean, I hope it can break above 42k, but you never know. No divergence on the daily. There actually is almost confirmed classic bearish divergence on the 4-hour. It did break out of that descending broadening wedge I shared over the weekend. Just kind of chopping around in the middle of nowhere for now. Cryptos are pulling back for the most part. Put out a few crypto trades on Sunday. They were up a little bit more last night, but they still are, I believe. XTZ is flat, but 2 out of the 3 are up still. But let's talk about stocks. It's a huge day tomorrow. Thank you for everybody chatting right now. Make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Futures right now are currently flat. There was something I charted, I think it was here, yeah. On the 1 hour on the S&P futures, we have this ascending broadening wedge, which I'll just be watching overnight. Not too much volatility right now, although we had quite a bit earlier today. So I'm watching this on the 1 hour for futures. Let's look at the indices. We'll just start off with the Russell, down about 1/3%. It had a very big bounce off of the lows. As you can see, it came all the way down to about 228.40, bounced up to 230. That's a very nice intraday move. It actually still looks fine compared to the S&P and the Nasdaq. You're still broken out of this symmetrical triangle, just kind of chopping around after the breakout, which is not a bad thing in my opinion. Still looks completely fine for now. Let's look at the ARK ETF. It got over the 200-day moving average yesterday, fell right back under it today. A lot of stocks actually did the same exact thing. Tesla was one that I was looking at yesterday that I entered yesterday. That also broke above the 200-day moving, or closed above the 200-day moving average yesterday, and then broke it today. So this was just the case for a lot of stocks. Had a pretty good day yesterday for a lot of different growth names. I believe the ARK was up very well yesterday as well, as we just looked at. And just kind of the opposite today, giving back pretty much all the gains on a lot of different stocks. We did have a nice intraday move in the afternoon, kind of, a lot of volatility there. Looking at the S&P 500, you still have that potential classic bearish divergence I've been talking about for almost 2 weeks now. It's still a potential, it's not confirmed, which is what I've been saying. I'm keeping it on my chart, but I'm not really thinking about it until the MACD goes over to red. So that it is what it is. On the 4-hour, I don't think it's confirmed either, but it's getting very, very close. If you have a red day tomorrow, the triple classic bearish divergence will probably confirm on the S&P 500. So I'm watching the 4-hour MACD more than the daily right now. I think Cheddar Freeze talked about this in the Discord earlier. Also, Guy and Hat mentioned like a rising wedge, which looks pretty clear on the 1-hour chart. It's just kind of walking up this demand line, so I threw it on my chart as well. And that's really it for the S&P. You pretty much, up until today, we had 3 days in a row where we closed at all-time highs. Today we did not close at all-time highs, but with all the volatility, we kind of came halfway back up in the afternoon. Only closed down 0.20%. Kind of a bearish engulfing candle. You did open around the same level as yesterday's close, and you did close under yesterday's open. Hopefully I said that correctly. But yeah, that's the S&P 500. The Nasdaq, this one's tough. You have, I wouldn't call it bearish divergence because you technically made a lower high for now, but you need to get above 14,200 on the Nasdaq. It kind of looks like an ascending triangle, higher lows, sell at 14.2. You got up to that resistance yesterday. You pulled back at it today. If we go down to the 1-hour on the Nasdaq, doesn't look amazing until it could possibly break 14.2, which is not that far away for the Nasdaq to do. aside from that, just looking at the charts, if we go over to the VIX, I brought this up last night on stream. I showed you this triple classic potential bullish divergence on the daily. The VIX was up 4% today. It's still holding above that 16.2 level, which was the same level it was at right before the COVID crash. It's pretty much bounced off of that level, or really pumped off of that level, obviously during the COVID crash, and even from like the middle of April to the beginning of May. And we're back at that level now. So I'm still watching that. Dow Jones, really nothing technical here, just kind of rolling over a bit. US 10-year note, still classic bullish divergence is developing, still above 145. But it's pretty much the same technical story as last night. It's not the end of the world. It's not even technically bearish for now. But if we get price action because of, let's say, the meeting tomorrow with the Fed, it can easily trigger confirmation on all of these potential bearish technicals. So it's like we haven't confirmed any real bearish technicals on high time frames, but they can easily confirm if there is some sort of catalyst or just regular price action drops them. Speaking of tomorrow, I believe around 2 to 2:30 is when we're going to be getting some reports about what's going on with the Fed in the meeting and talking about inflation and just the economy. This is going to be very important. It could mean nothing. It could be the same exact, wording that we've gotten from the last few meetings. It could be a horrible thing. It could be a great thing. I don't know how that's going to go tomorrow. I don't know the future, but I will be reacting to whatever does happen. I'm probably going to take it pretty easy in the morning. Just kind of wait until that's all out. And yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people on social media talking about this specific Fed meeting a lot more than the others that we've had throughout the course of this year. It's going to be a big one. We're going to be getting how do I put this? We might not get the answers, but we're going to be getting indications of how the Fed is feeling about certain things going on with the economy. Somebody on CNBC, I believe yesterday, said that this is going to be one of Powell's most important speeches ever, just because of how confusing this inflation seems to be to a lot of people that are professionals when it comes to the economy, which I am not. So I'm trying my best to kind of bring it up because you need to know that as a trader, and that will affect a lot of your stocks if it affects the overall market. On top of that, if you saw the thumbnail, I put 4 witches up there. We have quadruple witching this week, which is a major week for options expiration across a lot of different derivatives. I'm sure if you trade stock options, you've seen a lot of June 18th calls or puts expiration dates. A lot of them tend to line up together. And on Friday, we're going to have that quadruple witching. Typically, I believe quadruple witching weeks are good. This week has not started off so well. I mean, yesterday was a green day, but if we go over to the weekly candle, we're kind of just like, we're pretty much flat on the week for the S&P 500, pretty much right around where we closed last week on Friday. On top of all that, we have a lot of different stocks that have crazy open interest and volume on options. For example, Clover. We'll talk about Clover and Wish now. Clover has insane call option activity for literally this Friday. I mean, a large reason for that is because a lot of people were trading options at these levels and they never pretty much got out of them, to both sides, to both calls and puts. I do believe that the majority of options currently are calls. And I've been looking around on different pages on social media. A lot of people talking about the $15 strikes for Clover on Friday. Very, very, I wouldn't even call it unusual activity because it kind of makes sense after what happened last week, but very high open interest on those calls. And with quadruple witching and all those expirations, you had the scenario where the more amount of calls that become in the money on Clover, let's say Clover goes up to $15 on Friday morning, right? Those $15 calls are currently out of the money for Clover. But if it goes up to $15 on expiration date, or even tomorrow or Thursday, anytime before they expire at the market close on Friday, you have this scenario where a lot of people who are currently out of the money on their Clover calls, like a lot of people are in those options, will actually be in the money. They can exercise their options, and that's they're exercising their right to buy the shares at the $15 strike. If it's well above that, it's just people are making up their different things, and that is a very interesting thing alongside quadruple witching going on with Clover. From a technical standpoint, it was looking good and bad and good and bad. Today, it just kept going back and forth. I don't even know how many times it went from red to green and green to red. Took a pretty decent L on Clover today trying to trade it. Still have some. you know, I was looking at this hidden bullish divergence. It looked like it was almost confirming, and then you got just a, I'm not going to say a dump, but you had a pretty rough pull intraday. You were up like 5%. You're all the way up to 1546, and you came all the way down to 1376 at the close. Went down like another 0.5% or something after hours. And at the close on the 1 hour, it did break the domain line of the symmetrical wedge. So you never know what could happen. But right now, and it's in the title of the stream for Clover, pretty big make or break area. You know, if this breach of the domain line is real, then you could see these downside levels I've been talking about. That 1322 level, which was a high and a low and a high before in the past, have never touched that yet. After we broke above it, or we gapped up above it, you still have the gap fill at $12. So really it's coming down to the point where if the bulls don't step out tomorrow on Clover, we could see those areas very easily. They're right under the current price, so it's not that crazy. But at the same time, those call options, there's going to be a lot of people trying to get those in the money. Also on the flip side, a lot of people are going to try and keep those out of the money. So it's just a very interesting scenario that's starting to spread around with those high, you know, volume on a lot of the options due to what happened last week. So I mean, obviously anything's possible. Not only do you have those high volume on the options, you also have the Fed meeting tomorrow, so that can affect literally any stock in the market if it affects the overall market. Moving on to Wish, everybody's talking about this one on social media, so I'll just cover it. Another one that's in a pretty interesting area. We talked about it last night on stream. $11 is that area you want to hold and close above. You can go under it intraday, but you want to close above it. It was the candle low on like the 11th of May, and $12 is kind of your resistance. It's not super clear. There's not a lot of data in this area. It was your lows from like literally my birthday, May 6th, and it got above it today, but it couldn't close a 1 hour candle above it, so it didn't really break it. It just got over it and then came right back down. But if we go down to the 30-minute on Wish, there is a cup and handle forming. Again, it's a 30-minute chart, so I don't know how it could obviously play out very quickly. It has less probability compared to higher time frames with more data in each candle. But a lot of bullish on this company on Reddit, on Twitter, in other discords. Like a lot of people talking about Wish stock in the last week and a half, or probably even longer. That's just when I've been starting to pay attention to it. It was completely flat today at the close, 0.00%. Had a nice move intraday. I did take some profits. I think I said last night that I had some Wish. I did take some profits around $12. Then it closed lower. Just, you know, probably at this point more of a hype play than a technical play. I'm just showing the levels on the chart. And that's CLOV, and that's Wish, and that's the market. Futures are still flat. Bitcoin is now back under 40K. Kind of just chopping around this little range for the last, pretty much the last day at this point. And yeah, that's really, you know, what I'm looking at tomorrow. I have no idea how tomorrow's going to go from a technical standpoint. Like I said, it's good until it's not good, and until we confirm bearish technicals, which we haven't for now. In terms of the ongoing trades, I put out ALLO. I forgot who exactly mentioned it last night, but somebody brought it up in the stream last night. I pretty much said directly how much I thought the chart looked good. That was, can't even talk to him. That was horrible grammar, but you get what I'm saying. I really liked the chart last night. Had a trade on it today, pretty much 10 cents above the lows from today, and the trade's up 1%. It's just, again, if you missed the stream last night, or if you didn't watch the replay with the timestamps, bullish Gartley, classic bullish divergence on the daily and weekly, and an ice line. That's very, very real. So pretty easy to manage risk. It's a 6 or 7% loss, pretty much a 6% loss if it doesn't work out. We'll see how this goes. And yeah, other than that, the ongoing trades, PSTH down like 0.5% today. Nothing really changed from yesterday's analysis. You still are developing that classic bullish divergence, but you did reject that 2341 level, which you want to get above before the stop level. Moving on, QS, I marked it as a break-even trade just because the way I run the trades on the sheet, and I'm talking about this sheet over here, is if something, that's so bright. If something goes up over 10% and then comes back down to the entry, I don't want it to turn into a losing trade. So just in terms of the sheet, I put it as a break-even. It's always completely your choice. If you want to hold, if you want to buy, if you want to sell, I'm never going to tell you what to do. I'm just making the sheet based on certain rules and trade setups. So QS pretty much came all the way back down to the entry. This trade was like 3% away from the target. It was up 25% last week. One of the most frustrating trades in a while. Came down to the entry and then bounced up like a few percent. So we'll see what happens moving forward. LVS was green today, but it's still not doing too well. This trade is down 3% since the entry. HUYA, it's already hit the first target for a 16% gain, just kind of chopping around now. And then this is not an ongoing trade, but Fisker was down 7% today. It broke back under the 1737 level. So like I've been saying for the past however many nights on Fisker, I don't know. You know, I just don't know. I don't see any technicals over here like I did over here. So I could see going either way. And that's really it for Fisker in the short term. Obviously, I still love the company. But yeah, we got like 40 people in here, only 15 likes. I know it wasn't the best day for the market, but we could get those likes up, right? We're just looking at the charts, seeing what's up. Let's get a 25 likes right now. Hit the like button. Let me check out the chat for a second here. Did I get a haircut? Yeah, like I think last week, maybe the week. Yeah, I think it was like last week. Anything else in the chat? I don't really think so. Yeah, shout out to Mehdi for the timestamps. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. I chart every single night at 9 p.m. EST. Well, every night that the market is open the following day. Fisker is a 50-50 from here in the short term, in my opinion, which is not really that much of a call to either direction. I'm basically saying I don't know for the short term on Fisker. Obviously, I still love it long term. And yeah. That's really it for the coverage of the market today. Pretty short and sweet. I mean, it wasn't such a sweet day, but just the coverage of it was short and sweet. Tomorrow, who knows what it's going to hold. Just a summary, that's going to be a very important meeting tomorrow. It can affect things in either direction. Manage your risk. Don't trade scared, but also don't be greedy. Just do what you always do. Trust the process. Be patient. Wait for the high quality setups. And follow your plan, right? That's all I'm going to say. That's really it for the market today. Anything else I missed? Look at the dollar, kind of reclaiming this little demand line. Classic bullish divergence playing out. Really hasn't done much in forever, so I don't even know if I want to look at the dollar for right now, but we'll see if something changes tomorrow. Bitcoin falling a little bit more. Futures are still flat. UWMC, yeah, we can take a look at it. It actually put in a bullish pin bar candle today. It gapped down. There's a gap to be filled now around $10. I don't like that it's back under 990, which used to be the support when it was a SPAC. So I would like to see this reclaim 990 and close the candle above it like it did the prior 2 days. It still did close above the 200-day moving average. It actually kind of back tested. As you can see, that was the low from today. It back tested this supply line if you just pretty much chart these two highs on price. They actually use that as support today, and not only today, they even used it as support last week. So this downsloping green line is now a demand line instead of a supply line. But there's gap fills to both sides on UWMC, to the upside and also to the downside, about 50 cents lower. You just want to continue to close above the 200-day moving average, which you have every day since June 8th. That's really it for UWMC. What else is in the chat? Yeah, we could do take a request right now. This is probably going to be a very quick stream just because of how quick I covered everything from today. And also, I don't even know how long I'm going to do take a request. Just because even before I do the take a request, like, maybe none of it will matter depending on what happens at that meeting tomorrow. So all of these technicals can easily be overridden, if that's the right word to use. Overridden? Overrided? I don't know. But, you know, with whatever happens tomorrow, it could help the bullish technicals. It could invalidate the bullish technicals and vice versa for bearish technicals. So just take everything I say tonight, especially with the grain of salt. And remember, regardless, something I say is financial advice. Don't request something that was up 3,000% today. That's an exaggeration, but you get what I'm saying. And don't request something that IPO'd like last week. I need data and consistency to chart based on my personal style, right? I'm more of a reversal swing trader. I like entering in the quiet areas where things are consolidating and taking profits after they pop. That's more of what I like to do. I don't really, you know, momentum trade that much. And yeah. Also, OTCs, 9 out of 10 times it's really hard to chart them just because of the lower volume. So those also, unless it's like a higher volume OTC, just check it before you request an OTC. Because like most of the time when I get requested an OTC, there's just not much I can do from a technical standpoint. DraftKings, a short report from Hindenburg, was down 4% today. Is there a cup and handle on Torres Daily? We'll take a look. Intel. All right, we're gonna start off with Intel. This is not an actual trade, it's just a personal position that I'm in. I'm playing this little ascending triangle above this $56 ice line, which was lows from over here, lows from over here. It was highs from over here on some daily candle closes. I'm just playing this with some longer term calls personally. It's working on a break, hook, and go on the daily. You had a breakout yesterday. You are kind of back testing or hooking today, but on the 4-hour, you actually did have a break, a hook, and now you're trying to go, but you need to kind of get above that previous red candle's body. Intel, anything above 56, I'm bullish on Intel. There's a gap to fill at 62 bucks. That's really it for Intel. Is there a cup and handle on TLRY on the daily? It's really not that clear. Probably looking at it something like this. I mean, sure, this doesn't look like a high though. It just kind of looks like a little pivot up before running back down. And if you put your cup and handle all the way like that, then it's just not, you know, equilateral, which most patterns should be, like head and shoulders and cup and handles and stuff like that. So it's a little bit tough, and also the handle, I mean, it's just kind of going straight down for right now. It's not really like a linear handle. Probably have to chart it something like that, which would just be a down sloping channel that you'd want to break out of regardless if you're in it. So that's really all I could do on this one. You know, it was a great trade in May. Not too sure here. Somebody said, can we go back to CLOV for a minute? Is there a small gap to be filled from June 7 and the low 9s on the 1 hour that we should be aware of? I think I see what you're saying, yeah. Yeah, there is a small gap. It's a 1 hour gap. I don't really count 1 hour gaps that much because they happen quite often. Maybe not on Clover because it does have higher volume, but you could see a 1 hour gap happened over here as well. I just go with daily gaps, but you do have that daily gap to $12, which I did bring up earlier. So that's what I care more about, the $12 daily gap, because you can't really see that on the daily if you kind of zoom in. But yeah, it's kind of like right over here. FUBO, kind of breaking this little demand line. It's probably more clear on the 4 hour, breaking this little demand line on the 4 hour. Weekly MACD hidden bullish divergence. Wow, that's like almost confirmed, which is great. Still above 200-day moving average. The weekly does look pretty good. Anything above like $23 on the weekly is great. It's just like those lower time frames, I'm not too sure. On FUBO, TRCH, there's not much I can do with this one. There's no pattern, there's no divergence at this area. It's just, it depends on how long the hype will last, right? It's above 479, which was the highs from February 16th. I mean, above that, really all you have left is like 675. I don't know how much the technicals matter here, to be honest. They probably mattered a lot more down over here when it was in this range, and it broke out of the range, came all the way back down to back test the range, showed hidden bullish divergence on the weekly, and now it's taken off. You know, over here and over here is where the technicals mattered. At this point, 50-50 in my opinion in terms of technicals. I don't know anything about the company fundamentally, so I can't speak on that. On the weekly, same thing on the daily. ORCL broke out of like this ascending triangle. Might be trying to go and back test the ascending triangle. I mean, I already did have a very nice move after the breakout, never hit the measured move of the pattern. Your support is $80.50. That's really about it. Eventually, you can easily create hidden bullish divergence on the 4 hour, but you need your MACD to start waning. SEER, not a lot of data on this chart. There is hidden bearish divergence on the 4 hour MACD where you made a lower high on price but a higher high on your MACD, and that is confirmed. On the daily, there is also hidden bearish divergence developing. It's not confirmed yet. Also, this does kind of look like a bear flag. You know, upsloping channel after move down in price. I'm not just making these things up. All of these things are real. They're on the chart. Unfortunately, there are bearish technicals on this chart. How much does that matter? I don't know. You know, it's this stock pretty much, or the chart at least for what I'm looking at, started pretty much this year. There's not a lot of data on it. So I don't know. You probably just want to start making higher highs and higher lows because it's just been in a downtrend since January. So you want to start making those higher highs, higher lows, and switching direction of the trend. LOTZ, there still is a gap to fill around 550. It's kind of holding that previous resistance from the beginning of May. Resistance is 642. These are your supports. 569, which is where you closed at, and then if you break that, you have a gap fill at 553. That's really it. Resistance is 642, previous support. No pattern that I see on the daily or the 4-hour. IDEX, it had a fake out. It was trying to break out. It just didn't really hold above that 342 level. There is now confirmed classic bearish divergence, which we looked at the last time we looked at this chart. It's already kind of playing out. You've just fallen from 361 to 289. I guess you're approaching this little support area, which was support for like a week at the end of May. So at 284 is probably the level you want to hold there. DraftKings, short report today. I mean, it gapped down, so it was a red day, down 4%, but from the open to the close, it did go up intraday. The volume was, I think it was the highest volume ever on DraftKings today, according to TradingView. Not really a pattern here. It could also turn into hidden bearish divergence if the MACD on the daily goes to red, and the RSI is also showing the same thing. We made a lower high from this high to this high with a higher high on the MACD and RSI. That's not good. But the important level here, which it is currently still above, is $44, which was your low in the beginning of the year, and it was resistance in June of last year. LTHM, it broke out of the symmetrical wedge, made a nice move, and now it's pretty much come all the way back down. Your support is this demand line. Eventually you can create hidden bullish divergence, but you need to make a higher low than 1640, and your MACD needs to go back to green, which is not even close yet. So it's like, it's potential as long as you can eventually get a pivot on price above 1630. That's really it for this one. Why did I? ORCL down $4 after earnings. I think we already looked at it, but we'll look at it again since I know that now. Yeah, I read. I'll talk about that when we get to the. We already looked at DraftKings. I'll talk about it in a second. Oracle, did we look at that already? Oh, yeah. So you said it was down $4 after earnings. So if it's it is now at 77.75, so now it's actually under that previous resistance, so then it changes the scenario. You know, earnings will always affect it, the direction however they want to, or however people react to it. At that price point, you still can get hidden bullish divergence, but you'd have to pivot right away at the open tomorrow, and your MACD is not even waiting on the 4 hours, so that just changes everything, honestly. Well, I thought Oracle, wait, was it Oracle or did Adobe report today? Or was it? I think it was Oracle. I mean, yeah, I don't think Adobe reported today. No, Adobe reports on June 17th, according to TradingView. So I think I was watching CNBC, and I think they said Oracle beat on earnings, or at least one of the statistics on earnings they beat, if I'm not mistaken. Let me know if the chat if I'm wrong. Yeah, with DraftKings, I read the tweets that they put out. Their concerns, sure. Just like most of their reports, they're obviously, they have a reason to put out what they put out, but at the same time, it really comes down to how much investors think that the news or them exposing the company will affect the price. DraftKings, regardless of all of that, and I don't know too much about what's going on with that separate entity or, you know, shady part of their company, or I don't even know exactly what it, you know, technically was used as, but obviously they brought up the black market and stuff like that, which obviously you do not want your company to be having any relations with. But DraftKings is still a monster, you know, it really still is a monster. There are a lot of analysts that are still very bullish on it. Even with this, and I don't know how true / bad it really is, I do think long-term DraftKings shouldn't be affected by this. I'm talking 2, 3, 4 years down the road. Short term, I have no clue. But I'm not a lawyer or anything like that, so I don't want to speak too much on it. That's really it. You know, I don't know the exact specifications of how their company was split up and working and whatever it was, so I'm not going to try and speak on it too much. I'll just look at the price action and follow what that is indicating to me. Okay. Watt back under the 200-day moving average, broke the demand line. Now looking great to me. This needs to get back above the 200-day moving average for me to be bullish. There was a bullish pin bar candle yesterday, but that's under the demand line. Eventually hitting bullish divergence is possible, but you'd have to, you know, eventually get your MACD to go under the previous levels. Like, I'm not even gonna really talk about that for right now. It's just so far away from being confirmed. Even talking about it doesn't really make sense for right now. I don't know on this one. I want to see it get back above the 200-day moving average. That's pretty much it. RGLS, same thing as last chart. Its next support is like 82 cents. So I don't know. There is kind of hidden bearish divergence on the 4-hour. Needs to get back above the 200-day moving average. Until it does that, I don't know how low it can go, how much it can consolidate. Got to get back above 104. LAC, got to hold above 1285. Pretty much a bullish bat. Had a nice bounce at the PCZ. Could be coming in for a confirmation low. Broke the 200-day moving average. This is what I was saying earlier. So many stocks broke their 200-day moving averages today, which is a concern. You know, when they finally broke above them around like the middle of May, that was great for the last 3 weeks, and they had amazing runs, but now they're coming all the way back down and breaking them. Not the best signal if you kind of put that together with the S&P 500 potential bearish technicals. Same thing for this one. Like, all these stocks look so similar. It broke the 200-day moving average, eventually hitting bullish divergence as possible, but you need your MACD to at least start waning back towards green before you really want to consider it, because you don't know right now if it's going to make a higher low than 1189. You're just hoping that it does, really. The ISL, a trade that I never put out. It would have hit both targets for a 38% gain. I just never got around to putting it out. I was kind of, I just double thinked it a lot, if that's also the right word to use, or I just questioned this trade a lot because there was a really bad trade on the ISL somewhere over here. So definitely my emotions kind of messed up on that one. Never put it out. Would have been a monster trade. Falling wedge, classic bullish divergence. So it looked great. I don't know how I felt about it. It was also kind of like right under the 200-day moving average when I was debating putting out this trade. At this point, it closed above 303, which is an important historical level. It was the candle high on June 3rd of last year. It was support back in 2019. It was support in February of this year. It was your high in April of this year, 303. Every day you close above it is bullish. If you break it, your next support is 277 on the daily. MREO. I don't think this is like a formal harmonic, but I had an XABCD, pivoted, kind of looking like an inverse head and shoulders now. Something like this. You just got to hold above the 200-day moving average. No divergence on the daily. 4-hour, eventually you can get hit in bullish divergence, but you need your MACD to go back to green. That's that. NLS, you get a great trade on it. I think earlier this year or towards the end of last year. At this point, again, another one. Just put that 200-day moving average on your chart. So many stocks are right under their 200-day moving averages with the pullback day. This one's been under the 200-day moving average since March, but that 200-day moving average is a huge resistance on a lot of different names. It's something that a lot of institutions look at. Keep that on your charts. This one, I have to say, it's bearish under the 200-day moving average. It's kind of rolling over. There is hidden bearish divergence playing out on the daily, as we can see over here. I don't know, you know, eventually there's a gap fill, but like, you don't have a pattern or any bullish divergence or harmonics that really indicate a move up to there right now. In terms of historical support, I'd say probably around 1446. Oh, which is actually where you bounced on March 25th. Used to be lows in 2017, 2015. was the low in March. That's your major support, and your resistance is that 200-day moving average. HYLN, looks like it's actually breaking out of this ascending broadening wedge to the downside, which is not good. There is no bearish divergence on the daily. Or actually, yeah, there is on the 4 hour. You have classic bearish divergence on the 4 hour. So that's not good. Next support is 1084, which was pretty much your highest from the end of April. That's really it. Again, you know, with all these stocks, anything can happen with the meeting tomorrow, both good and bad, right? I'm just looking at technicals. I don't have any bias on any of these stocks. There's only a few stocks that really I would say have a bias on. Fisker, but even with Fisker, do I ever lie about technicals? Whenever I look at Fisker, I just tell you what I see on the chart, like I just did. Like I looked at the Fisker chart in the beginning of the stream and I said, I don't know, 50-50 to me in the short term. I still love it long term, but I can't say that these are the technicals I look for a swing trade. They're just not. Over here they were, and that's why we got a 65% trade out of it in a month. But I'm never biased with technicals. It's just I'm seeing a lot of stocks that I'm not saying they're going to dump or they're going to even drop in price. I'm just saying the technicals say that the probability is not bullish for the short term, and that can change any day. Anything can happen. Technicals can shift very, very quickly. Just for right now, I'm not getting the best readings on a lot of these stocks, and I never like being a bear. I'm always more bullish than bearish overall as a trader, but just got to share the technicals and how, based on what I've learned, these just don't look too good on a lot of different charts, which is a concern. And I hope we get some crazy good news tomorrow that pumps up the market and it invalidates all these bearish setups. But, you know, that's out of my control, unfortunately. So just to give some more explanation, because I know I'm seeing a lot of charts have bearish divergence and bearish patterns, which they certainly do. You can find both of these in textbooks. Bearish divergence and an ascending broadening wedge. Yeah. 1084 is your support. You zoom in, you know, then you could talk about potential hidden bullish divergence on the 1 hour. So maybe if the 1 hour bullish technicals play out, then the 4 hour can start reversing. But like, again, it probably does depend on the overall market and how growth does overall for a lot of these EV stocks specifically. AMD, I've been saying it for a while. I still think anything above 74 is bullish here, even if it comes all the way back down. Anything above 74 is bullish in my opinion. Just kind of consolidating over here. Not much of a pattern. I wouldn't even call it really a bull flag either. Just trading sideways for the last pretty much this whole entire month. So until it breaks out to either direction, I don't know. But whichever way it breaks out, will probably be telling. That's AMD. So I think you said consolidation flagging on the daily. I guess it's kind of sideways flagging. Maybe if you zoom in, it is a little bit down sloping depending on how you wick it. But regardless of it, you know, calling it a flag or just a range or a rectangle, like it just depends on which way it breaks out. So it doesn't really, it's just wording at the end of the day. One with the water. I actually have tea, which I should probably start drinking. Okay. Oracle. See if I don't think I missed any takers. Did I? Oh, I did, yeah. NOVN. Yeah, the AMD buybacks as well. What was it, 3 billion, 4 billion or something like that? I'm gonna tell you right now, there's not much I can do on this NOVN chart. And it sucks, you know. I mean, the thing is, for like the last I feel like the last 3 or 4 days, like 90% of the charts I look at, I just can't really help you out that much. But that's just how the technicals look right now and everything. There's just not many clearly super bullish looking charts with classic bullish divergence on the daily at the PCZs of harmonics. You know, things that look like this, the new trade I put out, you know, things that look like this at ice lines with classic bullish divergence. Like, I wish there were so many charts that looked like this. There actually were back in the middle of May, but we had like, you know, 10 people watching the streams then because all of the growth stocks were at like their lows of the whole entire year and everybody was super sad. But then it led to a lot of amazing movements. But those amazing movements and trades, they just finished playing out. So now we're just, in my opinion, we're just in this period of waiting I'm just waiting for data. As a swing trader, I'm just waiting for data to appear on charts that I can trade bullish technicals on, and I'm just not seeing all those technicals that I saw in the middle of May. You know, it's market trends. That's really it right now. So it definitely does make it harder to do ticker requests and streams, and you know, half of these things can just randomly go up because the S&P is all-time highs, because of Reddit, because of whatever. It's just, I really am a textbook technical swing trader, and the last few days have just not been, I've just not been getting the best signals. And today was a pretty red day, you know, for a lot of the stocks. Most of the stocks we were looking at so far had a red day today. Let's see. What else did I miss in the chat? Keep hitting that like button, hit that subscribe button. Room Temps, he says, always good to listen when somebody disagrees with you. It's a good way to at least strengthen your conviction in the ticker. Remember, all these things I'm just looking at in the eyes of short-term technicals, so I'm not speaking on any of these companies fundamentally. Also, I'm not really disagreeing or agreeing with anybody. All I'm doing is just reading out technicals that I see on charts for both bullish and bearish scenarios. And you know, there's obviously research behind all of that that anybody can look up and test me on. But I get what you're saying. I don't think what you're saying was like rude. I was just trying to explain a little bit. Let me scroll up. We have Neo now. What happened to Roblox today? I saw so many tweets about Roblox. Was there earnings or something today? What was I gonna say? Oh, somebody asked me a question. Stack the Margin says, based on your trading style, are you a believer that all gaps on the daily need to be filled? Everyday gaps, I don't think they need to be filled, but I think that there is plenty of data that says most of the time they do get filled eventually. But there are also breakaway gaps, and this is something that Thomas Bolkowski talked about in depth. You know, a lot of these patterns and ideas, it's just me kind of portraying what I've learned from other people, right? You know, I kind of obviously take a lot from, you know, Mitch Ray, because that's where I learned everything from. So a lot of my trading style, a lot of the technicals I talk about, I learned them through watching Mitch Ray, which is why I try and, you know, give credit to where it's due. Like always in this description of every single stream, if you haven't seen, I always try and talk about Mitch Ray, just because, you know, that's where I learned everything, watching his streams. And even he, you know, he not took them, but he utilizes these technicals from these people who created them and researched them and devoted their lives to them. Like, you know, Scott Carney with the harmonics, like Thomas Bolkowski with the patterns, like Steve Neeson with the candlesticks. You know, so many different people over the last century, Richard Wyckoff as well, you know, with the composite operator and the Wyckoff method and all those things. You know, those are all the resources that I've learned all these things from. So I think Bolkowski, you know, he has a whole entire article on gaps, and he kind of talks about, you know, everyday gaps typically do fill, but you also have those breakaway gaps, which have a lower probability of filling. Right over here, yeah. So I could bring this up, take a look at it. Where does it talk about breakaway gaps? There you go. So you have those breakaway gaps as well, you know, which are those very, very extended gaps. Like, you know, they tend to happen with like some, you know, crazy news. What was the company that AstraZeneca like merged with or something? There's a nice breakaway gap we could look at on that one. Alexion. So if we look at, I believe it's this chart. Yeah. So if we look at this one right over here, let me go full screen again. So this is a breakaway gap. You have, you know, this was a merger with AstraZeneca, and this thing gapped up from 120 all the way to 156. And you can see that that gap has not been filled. You know, that happened last year. Throughout the course of this whole entire year, that gap has not been filled. And eventually one day, if some terrible news comes out, if they have a few bad quarters, it could come all the way back down and fill it one day. But you can see with breakaway gaps, it typically takes a lot longer. You know, some stocks have had breakaway gaps that have never been filled. It just all comes down to probability and data. And I personally don't have the time to gather all of that data, so I kind of just compile it based on all of these people like Thomas Volkowski. So yeah, that's my thoughts on gaps. I do use gaps as support resistances, even though Volkowski, and this is actually something I disagree with him on. He said that based on his analysis, only like, I think he said only like 20% of the time or something, gaps act as support resistances. I've seen it happen so many times where gaps act as support and resistances that I kind of disagree with that part. But obviously, you know, he studied them, he put in the research, and he gathered his own data to provide that number like he did for all of his technicals. So just my personal experience in the last, you know, 2 years of charting. But yeah, always feel free to ask questions like that. I'm always happy to share my thoughts on technicals and education and stuff like that. So let's get back to the ticker request. Let's see what else is in the chat that I missed. Sonia says, the very first trade I took from Champ paid for the first month of premium. That's awesome to hear. Shout out to Print. Yeah, shout out to Trader Jose, or actually shout out to Cheddar Freeze for doing the giveaway on the Volkowski book, and also congratulations to Trader Jose for winning that giveaway. Keanu, how you doing? And yeah, still got 40 people in here, appreciate it. Keep hitting that like button. NOVN, there's no pattern or divergence really. That kind of was classic bullish divergence before this thing went crazy. If you ignore this little red MACD island, there definitely was classic bullish divergence on the RSI on the daily before this crazy pump, right? These are the areas, well, there wasn't much of a pattern there, to be fair, so I obviously am saying that in hindsight, and there might have been a catalyst for this to go, you know, gap up from 10 to 13, probably was. I just don't know on this one. You know, it's well above important levels. There's a gap to the downside, resistance. Why did it top out at $20.84? That was pretty much also your high, or really like 2075-ish. That was your high from March 2nd. It was even your kind of your lows in August of 2019. So always got to zoom out, look for those important levels. Crazy volume based on TradingView. That's the highest volume you've had ever, pretty much. I believe that's Friday and Monday combined. So that's good, but it's just kind of in between support and resistance. Not my type of trade. Don't know anything about the company. GSHD was up 12% today. Very good volume. It's about to test the make or break area. If it can break over 115, I don't see anything stopping it from going to 141. There's just very little resistance until then. So you want to get above 115. Obviously, better entries, better areas to enter, or entry areas. If you really start pulling back, I'd say your closest support is $96. Kind of like a rounding bottom or V-shaped recovery, whatever you want to call it as well. CTXR. This definitely invalidated bearish technicals. What was this? What time frame is this on? On the daily? Oh, it looks like it was kind of a developing classic bearish divergence, and then it just kind of invalidated that with price action moving crazy to the upside. This is why you always got to wait for that confirmation on divergence. Now that it's broken to the upside of a rising wedge, and it's above 290, and it's above 314, what a crazy move. This is, I mean, if it can truly hold above $3, these are the areas where this thing can go insane. Because the last time it was in these areas, it just went straight down. So the next major resistance is $5 if it can hold above 3. You have a minor resistance as well at like 460 from a high in January of 2018. You got to hold above 3, so good luck with that. NEO, this was a premium trade. It hit both targets for 33%. At this point, I mean, I don't know. You know, these are the areas where I like entering with support and divergence. At this point, make or break area. You get above 46 and hold above it. If there's a gap fill eventually to 58. If you continue to reject this, your closest support is probably the 200-day moving average, which is down around 40 bucks. So I could see that going either way from this point. It's kind of been going straight up since the middle of May, you know? It's gone up about 43% in a month, which obviously NEO's done much crazier before, but just keep that in mind. You know, I'm just saying overall, keep all these things in mind, not exactly specifically on this chart, but just like overall, if you want to trade, or if you do trade similarly to how I do. Roblox, not a lot of data on this chart. Kind of looks like a, kind of does look like a dinosaur, honestly. Does anybody else see that? Like the legs over here, this is like the back, and then like this is like the dinosaur head. No? Yes? Let me know. What happened with Roblox today? Wasn't it like down after hours or something? Or was that something else? Roblox, yeah, it was down 8% after hours. It went down to 82.50. So if it opens up around those levels yesterday, you're definitely going to want to hold above 82.60. Tomorrow, pretty much you want to close above 82.60 tomorrow, so you want a green day tomorrow. Because that was your high from April 13th. It was your daily candle, pretty much your daily low on May 24th. That's really one of the only important areas on this chart. If it breaks it, then you have 77, which is actually probably the strongest level on this chart. Was resistance here, 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 and here, and then you flipped it, and then you back tested, and then you ran. So those are your two levels to the downside within the dinosaur. That's a joke. I'm just, obviously most of you know, I'm just saying that because there's probably going to be some newer traders watching the stream which actually think there's a dinosaur pattern, because there's a butterfly pattern, you know, there's a crab pattern, so it wouldn't be crazy to have a dinosaur pattern. Scott Carney, maybe you got to make a dinosaur harmonic, I don't know. IVR, I ended up somehow walking away with profit on this one. I entered it around like over here, around $4, took profits around like 435 or something, like on call options. So it was barely any profit, but it was pretty good timing. I exited IVR yesterday, just because I was rebalancing my portfolio with, you know, the Fed meeting and quadruple witching. And today it was down 7%. Those call options probably were down quite a bit. And now it's back under that 414 level, which used to be resistance. You got to get back above that, you know, as long as you're on that, I'm not too sure. That was the level I was hoping for it to hold. You know, it was looking pretty decent on low time frames. It had a nice push, I think, on Monday, and then it just kind of broke it. So I'm not too sure at this point now. That was the level you wanted to hold. So hopefully you can at least hold $4. I know there's a lot of fundamental hype around this one. I'm just not too sure for the short term. For the long term, it's actually a pretty nice chart. Higher lows, kind of like some sort of accumulation going on over here, you know, in between 325 and 460. Thank you for the 40 likes. Imagine if you closed every single trade you took in the green, no matter what it took, and never closed a red one. Where would you be? I don't know. That's a pretty deep, complicated question. This is tea. This is green tea, and it's just it's like a coffee mug or something. I don't know. It's not a pint. I don't even. Does it look that big? Does this probably look like beer? It's not beer. But it's literally just like a coffee mug with green tea in it. It's not a beer mug. Dragon pattern. Yeah, I know there's a dragon pattern. That didn't really look like a dragon pattern at all, though. I mean, kind of. I mean, it looked like a dragon, but it didn't look like the actual dragon pattern to me. What else we got here? Yeah, the music, I just play lo-fi hip-hop beats on Spotify for the stream, because I don't want like lyrics and stuff. You know, while I'm talking, it'll be very distracting. Is that it? Oh, do we have any more tickers? Yeah, we have NKE, Nike. This could be a, I don't know if it got deep enough, but this could be maybe a Gartley. Let's see. Pretty close to a bullish Gartley on this one. I mean, it has to get deeper actually. I thought it was deep enough. No. So if it goes a little bit lower, honestly, it could even just come back down to this 129 support. Even if it bounces there, I'd call it just like a scuffed Gartley. You know, this general area is where you want it to bounce around 129. And classic bullish divergence is developing on the 4 hour, so not a bad 4 hour chart. Daily, not much of an edge though, so just focus on that 4 hour, hope that it can hold those levels. DDOG, inverse head and shoulders broke out on the daily. I think you're looking at it like this. Did break out on the daily, also back up with the 200-day moving average. Boom, look how perfect that is. The measured move of the inverse head and shoulders takes you right back up to your double top at 118. I believe that should be all-time highs as well. So if this plays out, if it can hold above the neckline and the 200-day moving average, there was even classic bullish divergence down over here. If this can really hold up, the measured move and a resistance both line up at 118, which would probably be my target if I was trading this. Very cool to see both of those things lining up perfectly. Mitch Ray calls that T8 Tetris. Alright, that song's just way too slow. What else? Yeah, DDOG. Keep an eye on this one. A back test of both 200-day moving average and the neckline could be very interesting. Or it could just, you know, break out this little 1 hour consolidation bull flag that Jeffries was talking about. PTE looks like it's ready to break out. $124 would be the breakout. It was resistance on May 12th, resistance on March 29th, resistance on in October of last year, resistance in March of last year. 124 would be the breakout that I think you're looking for. And then you just want to hold this demand line right over here. That's all you got to do. Hold that demand line. That's really it for PTE. Futures still very flat. Bitcoin back above 40K by a little bit. TRCH, we already looked at it earlier. It'll be in the timestamps, but I don't think I really have much to say on that chart. It's going crazy. Not my type of trade at this point. It looked good, pretty good before it ran, but now that it's already gone crazy in the last couple of days, you know, I'm not too sure based on technicals how to really, you know, manage risk and view it. Yeah, join the Discord. Thank you for dropping the link to Neutron Flux Labs. What you got cooking for the FTM? You mentioned something previous. Just something that's at a very, 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 very early stage. You know, the thing that I'm thinking about and potentially going to be working on soon. If it does happen, it will not even be like an actual thing, probably till like the end of this year, probably, if it actually happens, which I still need to figure out. But I don't want to talk about it in case it doesn't happen. And yeah, Thank you for the 42 likes. Thank you for the new subscribers. Appreciate all the support. If you missed something that I talked about earlier, Medi will be doing the timestamps, so that'll be out in probably an hour or so. And you can always, we're gonna have timestamps every night on the stream now. Finally, we didn't have timestamps for about like 2 months, but now they're back, which I know a lot of people love. It also helps with search engine optimization on Twitter into YouTube, so it helps to grow the stream as well. It's just great to have that, so that's awesome. When playing a ticker, if it has options, would you play that rather than shares? It depends. You know, there's so many things it depends on. Are the options viable? Is the implied volatility good? Is the spread bad? You know, is it like a 10-cent bid for the premiums and then like a 50-cent ask on the premiums? You know, I don't want to be entering something like that. You know, how's the delta look, the theta, all the Greeks? Also, you know, do I like the company for a long-term trade? How risky is it in the short term based on news? So many different factors that it's not really like something I could answer in a general standpoint. It just depends on the situation. DTC Wyckoff accumulation. Yep, Mitch Ray's been showing it on his stream every night on the 4-hour and 1-hour charts. Crazy. I mean, he was sharing that like when it was like in the beginning of like phase B, and like everything he drew out like has been playing out perfectly. It was kind of like how we did the Fisker Wyckoff back in January. Like if you remember, I was talking about the Wyckoff like over here, like before it even really looked like it. And then eventually it all just played out perfectly, and then boom. So yeah. That's gonna probably be it for tonight's stream, about an hour long. We'll see what happens tomorrow. I mean, so many different scenarios, both from a technical and fundamental standpoint. The price action will tell the truth, maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, hope everybody trades safely tomorrow. Have a great night. I'll be live again tomorrow night at 9 p.m. EST. Braden says I found you from a tweet with Fisker of a timestamp. Exactly. That's how I can really, what I basically do with the timestamps as well is I have like a secondary Twitter account, and I tweet out like the timestamps with like the ticker on Twitter, and it just helps to, you know, get more people into the streams. And yeah, I think that's going to be it. All right. Have a great night. Be live again tomorrow night. Join the Discord. Peace out.
I never got to hear him play, but he'd be glad to see it put to use. I wonder if he hears these strings. I wonder if he hears these tunes. You know, Nan is lovely as can be. You sure know how to pick a view. Oh, 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 oh. Such a perfect day. He wouldn't want it any other way. He'd be sipping on some sweet iced tea and probably thinking of a new story. The more I get to know your girl, the more I get she misses you. But she would never change her mind. She'd carry it again for you. want you to know I'm still trying. You see through my bad, you know I have my moods. When I'm super low, you pull me high. We're miles apart, but not at heart, my guru. She called me from a train, headed to a plane, coming for a week or two. Gotta clean my act up, I don't wanna act up, so I gotta find my groove. Good vibrations swirling around me. Wow. So why does changing hurt so badly? I want you to know that I'm still trying. You see through my bad, you know I have my moods. When I'm super low, you pull me high. We're miles apart, but not at heart, my guru. Got some scruff gone, gotta shave it. Get my diet up, no more eating bacon. Get a bathing, bet it feel amazing. Climb up from the cave I created in my basement. And even if I'm slow, she's patient